12 o'clock hour, the lunch break here on KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert with you. We got one more hour for you. Producer Evan is behind the glass taking your phone calls. 480-864-1060 is the phone number. We will start hour number 2 of the program, talking a little Phoenix Suns basketball. As according to a bunch of reporting yesterday, the Suns have narrowed down their coaching search to 5. And those 5 have been invited for interviews. And the 5 are as follows: Chris Quinn, Miami Heat assistant coach; Johnny Bryant, Cleveland Cavaliers assistant coach; Jordan Ott, Cleveland Cavaliers assistant coach; Dave Bliss, Oklahoma City Thunder assistant coach; and Sean Sweeney, Dallas Mavericks assistant coach. 5 coaches, 5 assistant coaches, none with past head coaching experience. All would be coaching for an NBA team as the head coach for the first time in their careers. So going to the complete opposite end of the spectrum to where they were with their last couple of coaching hires. They cared about experience. They cared about pedigree. They cared about your resume when they hired Vogel and they hired Coach Bud. They are now telling you, we don't care about those things. We need to get somebody who's going to help build this the right way. I love everything about this process so far. I couldn't be more over the moon about the way Matt Ishbia, Brian Gregory, and the entire organization has seemingly conducted themselves in this process. They are taking their time. And that may bother some of you. You may want them to have just hired somebody already to get a move on with all the other stuff that they need to do this offseason. But you know what? I love how detail-oriented they are being. We thought that the final group was going to be 3 coaches, maybe 4 coaches. Instead, it's 5 guys that have made it to the final round that are now going to have those in-person interviews that are going to get to sell their vision for the Phoenix Suns to Matt Ishbia, to Brian Gregory, to find out
the alignment,
if they are aligned moving forward. And you know what? The fact that they're taking their time, the fact that they are trying to get this right, crossing T's, dotting I's. I love this so far for the Phoenix Suns. This is the first chance for Brian Gregory to show to all of us he has a handle on what he's doing here. That he can be a successful general manager. Getting this head coaching thing right is going to help him be successful as a GM. They have to get this right. And you know, I obviously see a name on this list that has those Michigan State ties, and so you get a little worried. But I don't get worried about Chris Quinn being on this list. I don't get worried about Dave Bliss being on this list. I have a tweet that we can pull up the timestamp of. This was maybe within 24 hours of the Suns firing Coach Bud. And I tweeted, Dave Bliss is somebody I want on this list. This is before we heard any names. This is before we heard what they were looking for in the next head coach. Dave Bliss just jumped off the page for me with the Thunder, defensive-minded guy, has been there with multiple different head coaches there in Oklahoma City, helped build that thing as an assistant coach, just really jumped off the page for me. Chris Quinn, when we did our list a couple of weeks ago, both producer Evan and I had him number 1 on our list. You've got 2 guys in the final 5 here that I would classify as home runs, grand slams.
Would you like what you actually said about Dave Bliss on Twitter on April 14th?
I would love for you to read my tweet from April 14th, over a month and a half ago. This is what I said.
April 14th. I'll throw Dave Bliss as a potential name I'd like to see as the Suns go after. Checks a lot of boxes. Up-and-coming coach, under 40, part of a winning organization, oversees the defense, has been there since 19, so has had some hand, assumingly, in culture building.
They don't give these jobs to anybody, man. They just don't. That's April 14th. Dave Bliss should be on the list. Now he's a finalist, one of the 5 names that remain in this coaching search. I'm taking a bit of a victory lap today. Now, it's not hard to find guys like that because I'll tell you exactly what I did. I listened to what we thought this team needed. Somebody who was defensive-minded because they went with an offensive-minded guy and it didn't work. We heard that they wanted to go with a younger head coach. We knew that they probably were going to try to pick somebody that was an assistant someplace else and was a first-time head coach. And so you put all that out there, and I'll tell you exactly where I found Dave Bliss's name. I was reading a story The Athletic puts together at the beginning of the season, and they do these in a bunch of sports, but this was the basketball one, and it was people under 40 in the game to keep an eye on. That, like, these are the future big names in the sport. I saw Dave Bliss, and I saw where he was, and I saw that he was a young coach, and I saw that he was a defensive-minded guy, and I started digging into how long had he been there, who he had worked with, and boy, did he check all of the boxes. Chris Quinn checks all of the boxes. Former player, works for a super stable organization, front row seat. Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, every single day working under those 2 gentlemen. Johnny Bryant, a guy who worked with Quinn Snyder in Utah, with Tom Thibodeau in New York. I know the Knicks are 1 game away from being eliminated, but it's been a good run there. Johnny Bryant was a part of that. Now, Ott and Sweeney, I'm on the fence about. Ott, because of the Michigan State thing, it just bothers me. It's an optics thing. He may be a great head coach, and it may be wrong of me for worrying about the optics, but you went with the Michigan State guy. You didn't really conduct a full-blown GM search, and now you're going to go to a guy that also has Michigan State ties. It's just going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way if that's where we end up here. And with Sweeney, perhaps I'll be wrong with this because I know there are a lot of people out there that like Sweeney. All he's done in his career mostly is follow Jason Kidd around. And I'm sorry, Spoelstra and Riley are better guys to have on your resume as references than Jason Kidd. Tom Thibodeau and Quinn Snyder are better guys to have on your resume as references than Jason Kidd. And so I'm on the fence about Sean Sweeney. Chris Quinn, Dave Bliss, leaders in the clubhouse for me personally. 2 of the 5 names on this list would be home runs, slam dunks. Chris Quinn has seemingly emerged as the favorite. Everything you hear about Quinn throughout this process is he has been impressive. Sweeney is the other guy who reportedly has been impressive. But we are down to 5. We are down to 5 names. So I'll ask you this. You can call into the program 480-864-1060. It's not a rhetorical question. If producer Evan wants to weigh in, would any of these 5 names be a miss in your mind? Would any of these 5 names, Quinn, Bryant, Ott, Bliss, Sweeney, would any of them be a bad hire by the Suns? Now, I don't mean in the results that we see, but when we see the headline, Suns hire, and then insert one of these 5 names, do any of them make you go, they made a mistake? Do any of them go, they're not doing this the right way? Because there's only one for me. I'm on the fence about Sweeney, but I would give it a chance. Jordan Ott would really bother me. The optics of bringing in another guy with those Michigan State connections, you are going to immediately, before the offseason even begins, put a cloud over this organization of all Matt Ishbia knows is to bring in people that have Michigan State connections or people that are just going to say yes to whatever he wants to do. It has a bad optic to have for this supposed new era of Phoenix Suns basketball. So these 5 guys are going to get their in-person interviews. They're going to get that FaceTime. And now it's up to that final sales pitch in person with Brian Gregory, with Matt Ishbia, with Josh Bartelstein, selling if these 2 sides.
The alignment.
And you can sell yourself on a Zoom call. You can sell yourself in a phone interview. You can sell yourself in those virtual environments. You can't fake it in person. So when these interviews take place and Matt Ishbia and Brian Gregory, they get that one-on-one FaceTime, somebody, one of these 5 guys is going to jump off the page, is going to leap off the page at them. And this list is a great list. This list, truthfully, should give you confidence in Brian Gregory moving forward. And again, this is a show that has dedicated drops
The alignment.
to Brian Gregory. We were not a fan of that press conference. We did not think it was a great first impression. We were unsure if this was going to work, and we don't know if it will. But this is our first chance to see Gregory in action as the GM of this team. And I'm sorry, I am always going to be truthful and honest with all of you. He has done a great job in this process. I love the patience that they're showing. Nobody else is hiring. So it's just them. They can take their time and they can make sure they get the right person. I am not going to say at the end of this that they rushed the process. I am not going to say at the end of this that they already had somebody in mind at the get-go and they just put everybody through the motions. Nothing about this process says to me that they had a predetermined favorite, that they went into this expecting it to be this guy, and that person had a leg up the entire time, and there was nothing that nobody else could do to break down those doors. This is a great list. Chris Quinn would be an excellent hire. Dave Bliss would be an excellent hire. I think Johnny Bryant would be an excellent hire. Sweeney, I'm on the fence about Sweeney, but I wouldn't hate it. Jordan Knott's the only one that would have me raising an eyebrow. But in Buy or Sell in the last segment, producer Evan asked me, would they hire a coach by the end of next week? So by the end of next Friday. I think they're just going to take their time with this. They've got 5 interviews to conduct. And Dave Bliss is a little busy right now. A little busy trying to win a championship as an assistant coach. We don't know necessarily exactly when the NBA Finals are going to start because you've got a series still ongoing between the Pacers and the Knicks. So a lot of idle time for Dave Bliss. So I wonder if the Suns move Bliss to the front of the line to interview him before any of the NBA final stuff gets underway. The demand of trying to win a championship, the demand of that series. So Bliss feels like they want to get that interview not out of the way, but do that one first so they're not waiting around, and then they can talk to all of these other guys. I know that when Brian Gregory was named as the new GM and he was introduced to all of us, we were extremely, extremely skeptical. And I will remain skeptical. Remain skeptical until you see the way this roster looks. Remain skeptical until you see how he's able to navigate the Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal situations. Be extremely skeptical. But when it comes to the first chapter, when it comes to the first test for Brian Gregory to try and pass as the GM, I think he's going to pass with flying colors. That's how I feel right now.